All right, we are so excited to have you joining us this Friday afternoon for the Rural Life Virtual Summer Institute. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Why School Libraries Matter for Student Success. My name is Sarah Kitzmiller, and I'm your session host today. I'm here to support the session presenter, who I will introduce shortly, offer technical assistance to the participants, as well as share the session evaluation and certificate. John's going to help me with that as well at the end of this session. John Payne. And please do not hesitate to use the chat to ask questions or request technical support. So we'll get started. So obviously we've used Zoom, but just a few quick reminders here. Don't forget you can double click the screen to go to full screen and escape to go back. The mute and stop video features on the bottom left corner. Then also the chat features, which Catherine, I know that she'll want you to drop your questions, comments in the chat today, and so make sure that you know how to do that. So just a few refreshers. And then assessing session materials, they are posted on our Virtual Summer Institute website, but you can see the schedule registration page and then find the session under the appropriate day and time, and then click View Materials below the Join Session link. And John has already dropped that in the chat here if you want to click on the materials for today's session. So we want you to feel comfortable participating in this learning space today. It sometimes can feel awkward, but we can be awkward together. And there will be many opportunities for sharing and discussion, so we're going to just dig in together. And make sure that you share your voice so we can learn from one another. Each of us brings knowledge and experience to this discussion. And also, let's not forget to have some fun. And without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Catherine Edwards, a rural life coach here for Niswonger Foundation, and Dr. Johnny Sue Hawley, media specialist at Johnson City at Southside Elementary School. She has lots of experience, as does Dr. Edwards, in K-12 with emphasis in middle school. And she's really been instrumental during the pandemic to put books in kids' hands and passionate about that work. So we're excited to learn from both of them today as we go on. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Catherine Edwards and Dr. Johnny Sue Hawley.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Johnny, Sue, and I have been friends for years and years and years. We were both English teachers. We both were at Tennessee High and then at Unicoi and then ended up in Johnson City. And we've been pretty much all of our adulthood friends. And I have so much respect for her. And she's known throughout the state for what she does. Today, our objectives, okay? We're going to understand how schools with high quality library programs and certified librarians impact student achievement. And we're going to then learn how teachers and leaders can most effectively work with school librarians to support a school's vision for literacy. Since 1992, there have been a significant number of studies and research known as school library impact studies. And those studies have consistently shown a correlation between high quality library programs and student achievement. Well, data from more than 34 different states indicated students tend to do better on standardized test scores when there is a strong school media program in place. Well, there were those skeptics that suggested that maybe it was a demographics thing, and no, other studies, they've never been able to prove that schools that have more resources, more money, are necessarily without effective library programs, there's not much difference. So it has boiled down and been proven that school media programs do make a difference. So I pose this to you. You know, as a former administrator, you know, we were all, and we're continuing to look for that magic bullet that's going to make our schools successful and make our students successful. And, one of the big answers is you probably already have. The answer is your school library. So I found out, well, actually, Johnny Sue shared an article with me in Fidelpa Kappan, and it is fabulous. And the name of it is The Biggest Classroom in the Building. And I would urge you, whether you be a school administrator or an ELE teacher or a school media librarian, whatever your role, that you look at this article simply because it can be such big support. If you're an administrator, it's going to be a big tool for you to sit down with your media person, your librarian, and say, let's plan, let's look at this and see how we can go with some of the ideas in this. If you are a school media person, then you definitely need to get hold of this research and go to your administrator and say, I want to be this person. And I'm going to kind of give you, before we turn it over to Johnny Sue, I'm going to kind of give you the Cliff Notes version of this. But this article really is worth looking at. It's based on research in 26 different states. The name of those states are listed in the article. The research says that successful library programs provide long-term cumulative positive effect on schools. We want to make lifelong learners. We want to make kids understand the joy and the passion in reading. Reading scores for all grades improved where there was an effective program. And schools with effective full-time librarians had fewer students on scoring below basic than those schools that didn't have librarians or library or media programs. And reading and writing scores tend to be higher for all students who have full-time librarians. Does anybody want to throw any comments in or a chat or anything right now? Please feel free just to, I've got Sarah's monitoring things. Sarah, if you see somebody that wants to make a comment, please let them.
Absolutely. I would like to say that I had the pleasure of working, our librarian came to our planning sessions when I worked at Johnson Elementary School in Kingsport City, and really because they were related to the history and science topics and ELA topics that we were doing. And I really enjoyed that because then they could pull those books and get kids even more excited about the topics. And it just allowed us to kind of dig deep into that content, and then it just built excitement and engagement. So I really appreciated that experience.
Well, that's actually one of the points we're going to bring up in this, is that librarians should be included in departmental and team meetings, simply to know what's going on, how that person, he or she, can be support, and they can be major support. But there was a study in Washington State that it is when a school had a certified full-time librarian, it was a predictor, and I love this, it was a predictor of higher elementary and middle school math scores. The same study found that one key factor distinguishing high-performing schools from low-performing schools was a quality library program. And I would love to dive into that research and see how that directly impacted math scores. But I definitely, if the research said it, then it's there. And other research said that students thrive academically in all subjects, where there's library programs that provide free and online services, along with good book collections, periodicals, and audiovisual materials. I'm sad to see that as a rural life coach, I have gone into many, many schools where there is not a full-time librarian. The collection, we all know that research says that students need to be, in order to be stretching and growing as learners, that they need to be pushing the bar on what they read. They don't need to be reading below grade level. We need to be pushing that. And in addition, there's so many more things that librarians do than just books. You know, there's the online resources. It's just all very, very important. So what makes a good library program? Well, the research says how many times a week students visit their school libraries. And that also includes having a free and open program where students can get there. The flexibility of the librarian in their schedule. And I'm telling you, as a former administrator, I always had this talk with my librarians, and 99.9% of them were on board. I know they would have enjoyed eating lunch with their colleagues or their assistants if they were lucky enough to have one. But I really wanted the school library to be open during lunch so that students, parents, teachers could have full access to the librarian and the collection. The quality of the school collection. Librarians know, and they have good databases and good ways of keeping information about what materials are borrowed and how much. And in the case of Dr. Holly, she reads so much. She is an authority. And by the way, I'm going to throw this out. I'm going to be picking her brain this year to help with some classroom libraries that I want to work with some teachers in my system with. The librarian's impact on student achievement, well, instruct students with classroom teachers and independently. What that means is a good librarian is going to work with the teachers. A librarian is going to work with groups of students, and they're also going to be there independently. And you're going to see in some of Dr. Holly's programs how she does that. Plan collaboratively with teachers, classroom teachers. Again, I go back to what Sarah Kitzmiller was talking about. It's very important that librarians be in on the school improvement plans. When different teams are planning and goals and standards and looking at school data, how can a librarian support some area that a school wants to strengthen? They can, and they have the know-how. Provide professional development to teachers. In the schools where I have had really effective media programs, these people are the teacher leaders. They're also the tech gurus. And they can really be a huge assistance in PD and PL. Meet regularly with the principal. I hope that happens because they need to be sharing visions and sharing concerns and ideas. Serve on school leadership committees. I've already spoken to that. The librarian, if she knows the data, he or she's going to definitely impact what's going on in their time with the students about how they can support that. Facilitate the use of technology, well, by teachers and students. I saw some wonderful things by librarians this year. They were, if they were on a virtual schedule, then the really good, effective librarians were meeting with small groups of students in different grade levels. They were helping the teachers push on the technology. In Johnny Sue's case, she was on the front lines helping students and parents log in and understand how to use the technology from home. And then, of course, they're kind of the keepers of the technology. If you need something or you read about a new piece of technology, bet you it's already in the library. And then reading incentive programs. You know, that's a K through 12. That's an area that we all need to be working together on. And even though my background is high school and middle school, high school, there's certainly good reading incentive programs that can happen. And we know and we see the effective elementary programs. So what are some ways you could implement some of these ideas in your school? How can you become more valuable to your school as a librarian? We'll have some time to chat, and we may come back to this slide if we have time, because I want you to share some of your all's ideas, but I certainly want to hurry up and get to Dr. Holly. And so with that, this is Dr. Holly.
Hey, well, thank you. And thank you for those kind words. I just like to have fun in the library. I'm going to share now my screen so I can
Yes.
click on things.
I love your outfits, Dr. Holly. and your pictures. Those
Well,
are great.
My first point was, shoot, I knew I was going to have, here we are. Okay. I've got so many little windows open looking at your faces, and I have the chat open too. All right, my first point I wanted to tell you was just to have fun with it. I do like to dress up, and in the elementary level, I never admit it's me. You can kind of tell my hair there, but you know, I've dressed up like we had the principal agree to ride a horse up and down in front of this main street in front of school. If the attendance was good, I think what it was, and I dressed up like a clown, but I never told them it was me. I just never admit to it, and they love that. The middle school kids, I dressed up all the time there as well. And that's more of, she is crazy, but that made me approachable. And they'll act like they don't like it, but they do. We had zombie reading night one time, and the principal said, let me just tell you, you look too good as a zombie, because it's really kind of scary. But and I remember some kids were running in the hall, and I was fussing at them for running in the hall, and they just looked at me like, what? But I have forgot I had all that zombie stuff on. So, but it's just nice to join in with the rest of the group. So I'll talk a little bit more about some of those. But my background, my undergraduate was in English. So like Catherine said, I was an English teacher, high school, and at Science Hill, that goes down to 7th grade. At that time, the high school was, 8th grade, goes down to 8th grade. Then my master's was in library in the media center. And then my doctorate is in administration, but my dissertation was still on the library, because that is where my passion is. I haven't really gone into administration because I'm just having too much fun in the library. But my dissertation was on the past, the present, and the future of the library, because I wanted to see where we were headed and where we were evolving to. So one of my passions is where we've gone from just checking out books to books and technology, and now we're books, technology, and hands-on stuff like makerspace things. So I had a huge makerspace in the middle school, which was great. I did have to teach a related arts class, so I did Genius Hour. And if you're not familiar with that, it's pretty much a research project, but they have to make something along with the written part. So I would have kids that would make a prototype of something. They would do a PowerPoint for the presentation, and they would have written something. And then they would also have a Kahoot afterwards to quiz because they wanted to make a Kahoot. So, and all this stuff in the English classroom, they would be, do I have to write one more paragraph? I said, I think you need a couple more paragraphs. And they're like, no. But in Genius Hour, I'll have people saying, can I write another page? Can I do a little bit more? And I'm like, this is crazy. But they do love to research if you can get them hooked on it. But what I like about the library, it's never the same. It's different every day, different conversations. It might be the same classes every day, but things happen. There's different books coming in and out. It's just different every day, and it's exciting. But when I was in school, the librarian was perceived as the keeper of the books, and they just checked books in and out, and they're the ones that charged you fines, and you couldn't check out if you had a book out, and it's just all these rules and everything. So we have evolved past that. So now we're the guide to information. So we can give them information in a book, information through some source of technology, some hands-on information. I always use, I have a sound engineering little center in the makerspace, so they can come and they can read a book about sound engineering. They can find stuff on the computer about sound engineering, or they can actually get in there and make the sounds on the board. And then you can also invite people in. My brother happens to be, since I picked sound engineering for an example, he happens to be a sound engineer, used to work in Nashville. And one of the kids on Genius Hour was doing his report on that. And I invited him in to talk to him. So anytime you can do that, that's always great. So the information gatekeeper, thank you, Mr. Taylor. That is exactly what it is. So we're the guide to information. I am always open. I am never closed. And the kid said, what's the latest time we can come during the day? And I said, if I'm still here, I'll still check out to you or whatever you need. When I did my student teaching, which is, they don't really call that when you're getting your library degree, but the librarian and the assistant ate lunch, like Catherine was talking about, at the same time, and the library doors were closed. And I didn't like that. I just like it always open. So if I'm out of the library, my assistant is in the library. And so one of us is always here. So I like that. I wanted to add that at our school, I'm adding to some things Catherine just read before I get onto my slides. We have the school improvement team here at Southside. This is my first year here. My past 10 years have been at the middle school library. And then I was English teacher for 12 years at the high school level. So I've not been a high school librarian, but I've been at the high school. But we have a literacy team here. We meet once a month as well. And we talk about literacy in the whole building and what things we can do to just keep promoting literacy. So that might be a good idea. It's just a setup. There's a one person for each grade level, myself and the principal, and we talk about how we can improve some literacy. And I'm going to show you some programs that we've done. And but I want you to know your value and what a big asset you are to the school. And it's all the fun stuff you're doing. It's always like I'm planning a party, but I'm really planning a program, but it's just all kind of fun stuff. And the kids all come to me for their prize or whatever, and they're all excited. And, but my main role is to support reading. I don't want people to fall out of love of reading, because they will. You get busy in life, but you want them to have that feeling so they can come back to it. And especially at middle school, that's a crucial time. And my goal is to support the teachers and the curriculum. So my collection should match the curriculum. When I was at another elementary school, well, also at Liberty Bell, I was at Liberty Bell Middle School for a long time. We taught Chinese there. I think it was 5 years we had Chinese. So I had a kind of significant, bigger than most other schools, section of Chinese books. And they got used a lot because they got checked out a lot because, or circulated a lot is what I should say, because that's what we did. At that school, the kids understood it more than maybe so at another school. All right, let me get so that's just me. I think we had book character day one time. This was Dr. Seuss's birthday. It fell on a Tuesday and we were testing, so we didn't really do anything for that. And even though I know there was controversy about that this year, he still has great books. So on Friday, we had Dressed Like a Dr. Seuss character. And that's one of the kindergarten teachers. And I was Sam I Am. Okay, book promotion. Reading promotion, that is your main job, to always get them excited about reading. I don't read every book in the library, but I kind of know a little bit about each book in the library. If you just read the blurb and you will know, and just to get excited about it. My favorite thing is to help somebody find a book. But here's some things that I met with the principal this year and we talked about doing or not doing. She has been great to work with me about what I wanted to do. And I'll talk about some things we did at the middle school as well. I've always wanted to do this pumpkin contest where the kids make a pumpkin based on a character. Never done it before. I've seen other schools do it. And I thought, let's just try it. So I met with her, and I do meet with her a lot, but really it's because the next month I'm planning something. But I did have 2 categories this time that it might be a good idea. I just said, I looked on the internet to find what other people had done. You can find lots of examples on the internet. Pinterest, you can find tons of ideas. So I found a little letter of somebody's rules and I just changed it to what I wanted to. So they had a size category, which was good. I thought about that because I didn't want the ginormous pumpkin coming in. But then I saw somebody suggested having an individual category and then a family category. And that avoids that entry that the kid didn't do that the parents did. So I did that. This was a family category entry from a kindergartner. So they worked together on that, I'm sure. And then this was an individual category. And I don't remember what grade that was, but that's Donatello. I think that's the right color for Donatello. So we just had a pumpkin contest, and then I just picked categories and I gave prizes. We did principals pick, we did librarians pick, we did funniest, cutest, most realistic, most creative. I just made a little tiny little certificate and handed it to, I don't remember what the prizes were. Maybe it was just winning. And they're just excited about that. It might even just been a piece of candy. It's really just about, they're competitive and that makes them want to learn. And middle school students are highly competitive. Here's another thing we did, World Read Aloud Day. As you know, there's always kind of reading promotions going on in special days like this. And I didn't know that one was coming up. And a teacher said, are you going to do something for World Read Aloud Day? And I thought, yes. So I went and checked the date on it. And I think the literacy committee met that week. So I asked him, I said, can we have somebody read? You could do something as simple as having everybody stop at a certain time and read. You could have special copies and everybody read the same book at the same time, or maybe send one to grade level and everybody read it throughout the day sometime. But what I did was we talked about inviting guests in, like local celebrities or whatever, but it was COVID. But we didn't let that bother us. Of course, to elementary kids and middle school kids, celebrities might be the high school athletes. So I contacted some of the high school coaches and the cheerleading coach as well. And I said, hey, can you all come and read? And I just had a stack of books out that they could choose from. And they came with their own, they're more savvy than I am. They filmed on their phone, each other reading. I heard these people read like 4 or 5 times. This was the coldest day of the year, and they came in uniform. And of course, we filmed from the waist up. I know that kind of looks like they're sitting there with their skirts on there, but the kids loved it. We played the next day. I didn't tell them who was reading, but they just really enjoyed that. That was simple for me. It was just a couple of emails inviting them to come and then meeting them at the door and then saying, I just want you to record each other reading. And I think I had 12 recordings, and the teachers could pick what they wanted. They could show 1, 2, or 3. Some of them didn't turn out as well. So I picked maybe the top 5 that I sent out to every teacher. And that's all I did. And then they loved that. So just inviting, or maybe just being the facilitator is what I end up being a lot. March Madness, that I have a picture of that on the next slide. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But I've kind of wondered I just never understood how that works. And the literacy team had March Madness last year, so they wanted to do it again. So I'll tell you how that works in just a minute. I've got a better picture in a second. I decided this on a whim. I just thought, let's do an AR treasure box. So I have a pink Tupperware, Rubbermaid box in my office with just little toys in it. It's got some things from McDonald's that I've collected. I've got a couple of parents, when they clean their kids' room, they throw me the little gadgets and stuff. My sister gives me tons of stuff. She has all boys though, but it's just in the box. And trading is a great place for that. And what I did as the teachers, I said, hey, I have this treasure box in my office. If you need to motivate your kids anyway, give them this little slip that says you've won a trip to the AR treasure box. So they just come down with the little slip and give me the slip. And I just let them in the box. And sometimes I know what it's for and sometimes I don't. The 3rd grade teachers, they had to meet their AR goal to get in the box, the treasure box. So they all came down toward the end of the 9 weeks. But I started that the second 9 weeks, because that's when I thought of it. The second 9 weeks, the third 9 weeks, and the fourth 9 weeks, every 3rd grader made their goal. Each 9 weeks. I remember announcing the last 9 weeks. They did it again, every single 3rd grader. And I think the goal was 25 points for most of them. Of course, you know how you set different goals based on students' reading ability. But the teacher set the goal, and I just provided the box of little knickknacks for them to choose from. And then I had some other teachers, lower grades, like kindergarten, they read 3 books a day, and they would I just let the teachers decide what to send them down for. And I just simply provided the box, and I didn't buy anything. I just asked for some donations. It started at Barnes and Noble. Vicki Combs at Barnes and Noble in Johnson City is fabulous to work with if you've never worked with her, but she had a box of some toys that somebody gave to her that she never used for anything. She said, would you want to use that for something? I said, yes. So that's where I got the idea. I thought, I'm going to use that for AR incentives. So that's what we use that for. This summer, I had
it sounds like you really tap into your school community too. That's awesome.
Now, I have not, at the middle school level, Barnes and Noble does a book fair thing that I did several times at the middle school level. It's so easy to do. And if you want to do that, I'll help you set it up. But Vicki gives us time to be there. And I think it was a Saturday morning from 9 to 12, and you get a percentage of the sales. So I just set up a grand prize winner. If you had to go buy something and then your name went in you had to buy something. It could be a drink from the Starbucks. And then your name went into a drawing. And I think I gave away Beats by Dre. Dr. Dre's Beats were popular that year, which I bought at the store. So I got the discount. It came out of the profit. But I had 4 little centers around the library that they had to do, around the store they had to do. And then just people came in and shopped and invite people to come, invite the choir to sing or the symphony to play, not symphony, the orchestra to play, or the band to come play at different little times. And of course, those parents will come. That was simple and easy. It involved the community. And from 9 to 4, I made, or I think 9 to 1, I made the same amount of money as I did at the week-long book fair. So if you ever want to try that, Barnes & Noble is great to work with, and I can help you do that. All right, I'm talking way too much, I think. All right,
And
Dr. Seuss.
high schools, book fairs in high schools are great.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The kids love them. Of course, the prizes are a little different. They're more like maybe tickets to football games or basketball games, or again, Barnes and Noble will kick in some trinkets, or you get some Starbucks would give some things, and there were lots of incentives for high school kids to come and read.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. All of us listening to this presentation probably have fond memories of going to the book fair. It's always exciting, so you need to have it at any grade level. Yeah. Dr. Seuss Day, we just dressed up like Dr. Seuss. Look at the Lorax right here. Isn't she adorable? We just dressed up that day, and of course we all read some Dr. Seuss books, but we didn't get into the controversy or anything that was going on this year. It's just celebrating an author. And Dr. Seuss is great at any age. National Library Week. I put this on here just to show you. I think that National Library Week fell after my book fair, so I didn't want to do anything big again. You know, when you do big programs, it does disrupt a little bit, but they're valuable to the school as a whole to always promote reading. But National Library Week, all I did was every day on the announcements, they reminded people that you needed to, it was guess how many books in the library. And I just reminded them to guess, and they put their entry in when they came in the library. And on Friday, I announced the winner and how close they were. So that's all I did for National Library Week. So you can do something small, but just always to remind them that the library is there. At middle school, well, elementary, lots of times the library, they come every day or once a week for library class, because we're covering a planning time, but not always at the middle school. So you have to do some things to get them to come into the library. So when I did that one, guess the number of books in the library, the bucket to put your thing in to put your guess in was in the library. So they had to actually come up to the library. But I had a lot of people come to the library all the time. It was kind of we had 3 buildings, and the library was in the main building. So if you're going from this building to the other building, a lot of people would walk through the library instead of walking through the hall. And I let them do that as long as they were well behaved, and they like that. Okay, school-wide reading promotion. This is one that we run. Of course, we do AR. A lot of schools do some version of AR or reading counts or some version. And last year, they gave out bandanas because there was a cowboy theme. And for 25 points, when you get 25 points, you get a bandana, and then you get buttons for each one. Well, of course, last school year, I mean, the one that we got cut in half because of COVID, they didn't really get to finish it. So they wanted to extend it. So this year we gave them this sash. This is Charlotte, and she has the sash. You get the sash. It's like Girl Scout or Boy Scout sash, or like a prince would wear or whatever, for 25 points. And then when you got up to 50 points, you got a button. 75, you got another button, and the buttons got bigger and bigger. It went to 200 plus. Charlotte read 800 points. So I had to we kept making bigger buttons, or I would give her, she was a big Harry Potter fan, so I gave her a little Harry Potter snitch one time. I was, finding stuff for Charlotte. But I also put their picture. See, here's where she was standing when I took her picture. I put a little frame around it. Here's Asher. He's a second grader. So I had different grades on the hall. And I put a frame around it. And then when he got 50 points, he got the button and a sticker. Then 75, he got a button and a sticker. I am not doing all those stickers again next year, but they really did enjoy that. But that was a lot for me to keep up with. But just announce it, and we announce it every Friday. I'm not even looking at my notes like I should. I've got everything memorized, I guess. But we announced it on Friday. We have what we call an assembly. It's just a little bit longer announcements. We give out attendance awards for you're always pushing attendance. We give out reading awards, and then we have a character counts awards for good behavior and those kind of things. People caught doing what they should be doing. But the reading awards, we say, all right, here's the people in the 25 club. Here's the people in the 50 club. And they love to see their name announced there. I'm always told when I miss somebody, and I always feel bad. But right after announcements, they come down, and I either put their sash on, or I give them a button. And one time when I put the sash on, I went, it feels like you're knighting somebody. I went, da 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 da. And so now whenever I do a sash or a button, everybody who's standing around automatically goes, da 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 da. So if they come in the middle of a class, I was like, oh, here's somebody get a reading board. Can y'all help me out? And the whole class does it. And it just makes them feel special. So, but I think we had more people reading because my principal really backs that and the kids love it. So you can do some kind of form of that. What we're going to do next year, we're going to have a space theme, and they're going to travel to the first 25 points. They get to be a flight commander. So we found this dog tags. I think I have a link on this. Yeah, I do. On the slide. And here's the company I found this in. It's called School Life. And see, the first dog, you can make your own dog tags, but look at the prices here. It's cheaper than the buttons. So this would be the button you get, or the tag to put on your dog tags when you get 50 points. So what we thought we would do is in the classroom, they could have the brag tags hanging up, and you come in and wear your tags all day. I know the kids will wear them all day. And you don't have to, but that's where you keep your tags. So they can travel to Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and so they will know the planets in order, and they will know some space themes as we go along. So that's our plan for next year.
Dr. Holly, you had some comments. Bethany said, what a fun community builder. And Jackie Hutto said, school-wide contests are always fun for students, and it's something they will remember.
Yeah, they do remember getting that sash. I've got some kids in summer school that they want to keep going to try to get that biggest button. So yeah, anything you can work on together. And it's just a little bit of praise that's all I've done. I make the list every Thursday night so we can announce them on Friday. And the buttons you buy at the beginning of the year, I really didn't do that. I just told them in the office what I wanted, and they did all that part. So just a small amount goes a long way.
Johnny Sue, I think it's impressive that the school librarians included in summer school. That speaks to how important you are to the administration and the faculty, that you're even there in the summer.
Yeah, we're having 4 weeks. We have library every day. Of course, they have PE every day because that's a state guideline. But yeah, I asked to do it. I asked to teach summer school. And at first she had me in 2nd grade, which would be fine because I am certified for that. But, Catherine knows mostly I taught high school. But I'm certified for everything but kindergarten. I'm crazy. But then she moved me to I said, my first choice, of course, would be library. And we are still pushing library. They've got I gave them a reading log, and I'm giving them every 5 books they can get into the AR treasure box. And then when they get the 10 books, they can get a free book, which are some books I just pulled off the book fair. And then the next 5 is treasure box, then free book. And they're just all about reading. You've got to build that culture of it. We're trying to build that culture where our numbers 800 will be, more than one kid will be up to 800. But we had several readers really working on that. All right, book fairs. Book fairs, of course, we have already mentioned how much everybody loves that. And you can do a little as you want to. I've seen book fairs that are great with no decorations. I do love to decorate. And with COVID, a lot of people didn't get to do a book fair, or they just did the online one. Since we were in school, I went ahead and did the book fair. Our principal was fine with that. Parents were not allowed to come during the school day, but I was here every day our school gets out at 3:15. So from 3:15 to 6, I was here, and they made appointments and would come in. So I included them in that. And we just had contests during the week. They make suggestions. You don't really have to do a lot of thinking for book fair. They do all for you. But I dressed up like a camp counselor because it was a camping thing. But I think I look like the little boy from Up. But it's okay.
Oh, cute.
This little fire I found on Pinterest. Look at this little boy. He's roasting marshmallows. It's just a paper wad right there, but it's he thought it was great. And then we put little tea lights in it so it lights up, and you can set the tea lights to flicker, and it was kind of fun. And then I did this, and of course you don't have to do this, but I was thinking about COVID. I wanted to make a camper for them to go in, but I couldn't just make one because it's a small space. And because of COVID, we couldn't really have a bunch of people in a small space. So I made these little campers. Again, I found on Pinterest. Oh, by the way, here's our Harry Trotter book. It's a bookshelf, and the kids named him Harry Trotter. And there's all his reading awards, his buttons. But he goes around at night, by the way, through the library and picks out books that people might want to read. I said, now the books Harry Trotter picked out are over there. When they get ready to check out, I say, you might want to check and see what Harry Trotter picked. Of course, he always picks Halloween books in October and stuff. So I'm silly. He had these, last year he was against the wall with one little eye. and there was nothing on the back, no eye. And the kids noticed that I had, this was in the office. So they put him in the library this year, and the kids noticed he didn't have an eye on the back, and they're like, why doesn't he have an eye on that side? And I just said, it was a terrible farming accident. I don't want to talk about it. Like, that's all I said. But I found these big eyes at Hobby Lobby, and so I put them on there because now he has an eye on both sides, and I thought that was going to be it. They're like, why is his eye so big? I said, well, when you have eye surgery, it's going to be swollen for a little while. So that's all I said. But, I just say silly things. All right, so these were easy. It was just a cardboard thing, and this is just $1 tablecloth. So on one side of the library, I had campers, so you could get in a camper and read. These were brothers, so they could be in there together, but they, I had 2 classes in there at one time. But on the other side of the library, I had tents, and it's just 2 library chairs with that Dollar Tree plastic tablecloth across it, and they loved it. Like, look at this girl reading in there. I mean, it was simple and fun. They really liked that. Visiting authors. I don't know where my March Madness slide went, but we might come up in a minute. But for March Madness, you just set up the bracket, and the kids, this is how it works. I didn't know how it worked. You just set up the bracket. It's like the top 16 basketball teams. So it's the Sweet 16. And 2 weeks before we do March Madness, we gave a copy of the books. There's 16 books to each grade level. And they took turns reading, and you have 2 weeks to read those books aloud to everybody. I read 2 in the library, so that was just 14 the teachers had to read in their classroom. And they're all picture books, so not a lot of pages. And then 1 week you vote on the outside bracket, and then the winner of each 2 come in, and then you just vote. But the thing about it was reading and just see what the main book was that won. It was really, everybody knew everything about all those 16 books. So that was really good. All right. So visiting authors. When I first became a librarian, we had visiting authors. They would physically come in. It cost a lot of money. And you also sold the books and passed out the books. So it's a little bit of effort. But we kind of quit doing that because it costs so much. So it started with this man right here, Patrick Carman. He's probably written more books that you know. He's right. 39 Clues is one of the most popular ones, but he started writing books, and he recorded himself talking about a book for the younger age and a book for the older age. So I just asked the literacy team, and I talked to the principal about it, and I said, hey, can we try this? It's recorded. I've looked at it. It's fine. It's safe. He's great with kids. His daughter illustrates one of his books, and she showed him how to draw the characters in her book. It's sort of like the Wimpy Kid, where there's writing, and then there's a picture, and then there's writing, and there's a picture, and they're kind of stick drawings, whatever. So she showed them how to draw all those, and they enjoyed that. And then he gave them a little slip that they gave me. I just copied and gave everybody, where they could go online and order the books themselves. They'd come to their house. So he has a huge thing that he set up with podcasts, with different books, and he writes books that the older book, you have to read a couple of chapters, then you go and do the video game. And there's things in the video game that give you a hint about the story, and there's things in the story that give you a hint about the video game. And our older kids love that. So it could be on their phone if they have one, or their parents' phone, but or on the computer, I think. But anyway, he's tapped in some really good ideas. His website is called Go Kid Go, and I might have it attached here. Oh, I do. So since then, he's come up with all this stuff. And of course, this explains what all's here, but he has all these shows that they've started doing. Here are the actors, and you'll probably recognize some of them that do, and it has all these podcasts and really cool stuff, but it's all about reading, and the kids love it. And then here's some things that are coming soon, and I just think he's got some really good ideas to keep kids interested in reading. Catherine Weatherford, man, she was exciting to listen to. She has a lot of historical books. Like this one right here, you can see is about Aretha Franklin, and it's called Respect. It was a great little book. Her son was on there also. He is an illustrator. But this is Betty Cobb. This is the Johnson City Public Library librarian. She just sent me an email and said, hey, we're doing this author through a Zoom meeting. Do you all want to have some of your classes come? I just emailed it out to the teachers, and they could come to it or not. I think all the virtual classes did it. And all the third grade I know did. I can't remember now who did and who didn't, but I just left it up to the teacher. I mean, I don't want to make anybody do anything. You know, that stresses people out. But there's an option for you, and it was really good. Her son did some spoken word, so kind of rapish, that was really good. This is Kwame Alexander. And if you don't know who that is, all the kids love his books. Middle school, high school, kids here. This is a picture book he has, but the crossover book that he writes in our system, every 8th grader reads it. So anyway, great author. And he did a little podcast or a little talk. So I just sent the email out. Here's the link. If you want to do it, it'll be at this time. This one down here, this is, she's a doctor, of course. Now, Mae Jensen. She's a NASA astronaut. So, and she was really interesting to listen to. This was another thing that one of the organizations sent me. Hey, this is free if you want to watch it. And I just sent the link out. This one over here, this is Derek. Mo Willems, during the pandemic, started drawing, and you could draw along with him, or he would read. A lot of authors did things that are still out there. So normally it cost me an arm and a leg to have one author visit during the year. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offerings that I gave. Now, everybody did this one. The whole school did this one. But all these, I just sent the link out, and they could do it or not if they wanted to. Mo Willems, you know, I called on the fact that the first grade teacher was doing all this Mo Willems, and I went to tell her about that option. Of course, she knew about it, but it's always helpful, and she might not have. So local library is great to work with. So there's some ideas for visiting author. I did a bunch of authors. I just was shocked at how many we did in a pandemic. So we kept saying COVID wasn't going to stop us from doing anything at our school. Okay, curbside. At the beginning of the year, we were 3 weeks, everybody was virtual. My husband teaches in the county school, and they were virtual for the first 3-9 weeks. So what we did, I'm not sure what all they did, but what we did is we were doing curbside checkout. So I sent a flyer home that explained how to do it. The older kids, I showed them how to go on to Destiny from their Chromebooks, and because everybody has a device here, how to select a book, and it would tell me, and I would pull that book. But the easiest thing for me, and I think the most fun for them, was just give me a topic, and they would say, okay, I want to read about cats. And so I would pick a couple of nonfiction books about cats, and then some in the everybody section. I call the easy everybody, which I had to train myself to do. But I just think when you call it easy, your 3rd and 4th graders won't even go in that area because they think those are the easy books. So I tried saying for a long time that those are books you can read in an easy amount of time. That's why they're called that. There's not that many pages, because we have every AR level over there. So I just changed it to everybody. And so I'd make a bundle of 5 books for the curbside, for the virtual people. This is just a little card I made from Canva. If you've ever used Canva, excellent program. I just typed in my name and what was already there. Canva just makes you look professional when it's super easy. We wrote down the books. I would fill in what they request. So I'd have that paper to go around and pull the books. We gave them all a bookmark. There's a rubber band around so it won't fall out. And then I hid a sticker in the middle of the book. In one of the books, there's a sticker hidden that you just have to read and find it, just to kind of get people interested in it. And you can buy stickers from Amazon now for almost nothing, because they make them, they put on water bottles and stuff. It's just kind of a popular thing right now. So this day I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the bundles I had to put out. Now, granted, it looks like that might be a lot of work, but really it's not. It's just pulling books, and my assistant mostly pulled the books, and then I'd put this on there. And then outside we had these little white things. This is pick up for kindergarten through 2nd. This one was 3rd and 4th. There's looking down in the box. And then this is the maintenance permanently attached this to our school. This is really a post office box that I didn't even know about it, but one of the other librarians found it online. And my daughter is good with the Cricut or the Silhouette machine, so she cut out letters for me. We're the owls, and just that's the book return, and we're going to leave that out there. But that's how we handle the curbside.
Dr. Holly, people have been saying that these book packages make them happy, and this looks really exciting. I bet kids got really excited and felt loved when they got that little book package.
Yeah, I think they did too. And honestly, I talked to another librarian about it, and she said, well, what about kindergartners with 5 books? That's a lot, because we worry about our kindergartners. I'm just going to stop right here and tell you, I don't worry about losing books. I just want kids to read. And at middle school, some of the other librarians might have gotten a little, probably did get a little mad at me, but if you owed a fine on a book or you were missing a book and not turned it in, I still let you check out. Because those kids that were in that situation are kids who don't have books at home, probably don't have access to books, and their English teachers asking them to read a book. They have great classroom libraries here, and they were building them at the middle school, but there's a great article or great research study by Annette Boring that I think she's still a librarian, but anyway, she did this study about how many books were returned or lost for the year when she charged fines, and how many were lost for the year when fines were not charged. And it was about the same numbers. So it's really not that big of a deal. And my thing is I want a book in their hand. So that may not be as popular with other librarians because of that, but I'm not the keeper of the books anymore. I'm the giver of the information. And I'm just kind of, can you please bring that book back? Can you really look for it? I eventually get them all back. So
I love that, Dr. Holly. I really do, because you're not preventing access to those who probably are more likely to use it, but also more likely to not have books at home.
Yeah, and they eventually find them all, and the kids get upset. I didn't bring that book back this week. I said, that's okay, bring it back next week. We'll get it here eventually. And at the end of the year, you're going to find when they clean their desk out and stuff, how the books eventually show up. And that might come from when I was a little girl. My sister read like crazy, and she's one of these people who can read super fast, a book that thick in a day. I don't read like that, but she does. And she said, but she wasn't good at returning the books to the library. So when I walk in, I just felt like the librarian was looking at me like, oh, there's that girl from that family that doesn't return books. It just made me, and I don't even know if they were thinking that, but it made me feel that way. And I just don't want kids to feel that way. I want them to feel like they always have access to reading. They have access to books. I just want them to have that joy of reading. And it doesn't mean I never fuss at a kid during class, because I will if you're not polite and what you're doing. But I just want them to have that good feeling. But I just remember feeling so awkward going into the library period. That was my hometown library.
I love that. Well,
I'm sure they weren't thinking that at all. That was me.
Well, and Pam just said too, Pam said that she loved that you use the term everybody books, that easy is ebooks. She's been referring to books as everybody books too, and they're not easy for everybody, no matter the person's age.
Yeah, and the hardest part about that, I just changed the letters on the wall, but the hardest part of that was I had to get myself to quit saying easy and say everybody.
And Janice said that they were great about not worrying about the books being lost. So that's good to know. The research backs that practice too.
Yeah, and I'm glad that more people are doing that now, because honestly, the people that really hurt are the people who we really need to be helping anyway, who are probably academically struggling in some way, and they need the book to practice.
And Tracy was saying just that this idea of welcoming, non-punitive, just how we want books to feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you just don't want to be, I can't remember our librarians being that, but I can remember some of my friends talking about, oh, our librarian, I could never check out a book. And you just don't want that perception. If you do charge fines, and I did at the middle school, but I kept offering things like they could come during their team time, which was like their recess, and they could work in the library or help me shelve books or do something. And each time you came, that was $1. So they could work off their fine if they didn't have the money for that. One time at the end of the year, this is the best thing ever. Another library friend of mine said I let them write thank you notes for $1 to their teachers. So at the end of the year, I had them write thank you notes. And at the end of the year, when we're all so stressed, that's when you want to hear a thank you note, whether they mean it or not. So they did that for $1. I didn't care if they did 25 thank you notes. Some people wrote them to the bus driver, to the cafeteria. All right, working with classroom teachers. I check out books of the classroom teacher, like 20 at a time, if they don't have a great classroom, or they're just brand new teacher building their classroom, or if there's a certain topic they want. But I always tell them to leave a few in the library, because kids like to check out what their teacher's talking about. Plan a library lesson to add to what they're already learning in the classroom. I offer that. I make a little brochure at the beginning of the year. Here's some things I can do for you if you want me to do it. Some teachers will never ask you for anything, but others will. And then word of mouth is the best promotion. So I remember a second grade teacher, I told him, I said, she came and she said, hey, I have to move on, but they were really struggling with proportions. Can you read a book about proportions or do a lesson on that? So I did. If you hop like a frog, tells them, there's proportion, like a frog can jump 10 times its size, I think, 10 times its height. So we measured everybody's height, and then I had them do the proportion. And there's if you were an ant, how much could you lift? And that's that one book, If You Hop Like a Frog. But it's fun, so they can trick them into doing some more proportions. Do a culminating project during the library. If they are teaching what they're teaching in the class, instead of taking time out in the classroom, especially now that we're trying to get caught up from COVID, you could do in the library, do the culminating project in the library class, whether they want a PowerPoint or you can just tell them, hey, I'll do it. And they don't have to do it, or, lots of times I would let the teacher grade it, but it's up to, or I would give them the grades. So that's an option for you. Providing research for teachers. Sometimes I'll ask them, I'll give them an article or go around the library. Here's the things I have in the library that match what you're teaching, if you want those too, because they don't always, it depends on what they're used to asking the librarian or not. Of course, that's a service we kind of all provide. Ask to help in the classrooms. If they're doing they want to do the research in their classroom, you can always offer to come in. I've got a teacher that says, anytime you want to come in, you come in. So I might come in and be the helper, or I might come in and take over the class. I know when we gave out the Chromebooks, I taught the class for, I think it was 30 minutes, just kind of how to take care of the Chromebook. And I knew how some buttons and things work because we had been using Chromebooks at my previous job at the middle school, and they were brand new here. So a lot of teachers didn't know, like Chromebooks don't have a delete button, and showing them how to do that and different things. So you could do the research. I don't mind to come in as anybody's class and show them how to do research, show them how to make a citation on a Chromebook. It makes it for you, so it's so easy. Or I can say, if you want me to teach that while they're in the library, I will. Or bring your class in the library and I'll teach it while I'm in the library, and you can just help with class control. They like that, if you feel comfortable with that. Okay, here's that March Madness picture. I knew I put it in here, but I put it in the wrong place. But you just have your brackets. They read all the books and see, this is the final four. Well, no, it's 8, the Elite 8. So on this week, they voted between these two books, and on the other side, and it went to these right here. And then the next week, we voted on these 2 books to pick a winner, then these 2. The next week we vote on that. But the key is you have 2 weeks before, it runs 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. But the 2 weeks before you start voting, the kids have a chance to read everything in their classroom. I'd always wondered how that worked, but that worked great. And the kids knew everything about those books, loved it.
Just to update, you have 15 minutes left. Just
okay. This is my last slide. So I built a virtual library because we had some kids that were virtual all year long, and I wanted them to be able to visit the library. So also at the beginning of all this Bitmoji craze started happening. So, and I knew nothing about it when I started. So I have learned all this year. So you just have to build a Bitmoji on your phone. And once you build it on your phone, it's already connected to Google. So it'll pop up on Google in your Google Slides and stuff. So there's this Facebook group right here. It's called Bitmoji Craze for Educators. They make slides and stuff, and it's all up there for you to use. It's not stealing. They have it up there to share. And then if you want to make one, you put it up there, and it's all about give and take. I don't make that many, but I use a lot of them. It makes you look like it's one of those things I always say makes me look smarter than I am, because they build it all. But we have a tree in our library. It's an actual tree. Well, it's the mold of an actual tree, because we're in the tree streets, and it's the reading tree. So somebody else made this library. I took their picture out and put mine in. So I just deleted them out and put my little Bitmoji in, and I put a tree in there. But I wanted to tell you why we were all virtual. We had this one slide. This is the library, the librarian, the art teacher. This is our gym coach. Here's our guidance counselor. This is art, sorry, this is STEM. And but anyway, and the music teacher. So at one point during the day, they would click on whichever one they were supposed to have for the day. And once you click on them, there's a lesson. When you click on the art teacher, it's a video of her showing you how to do something. So it's not Bitmoji. This is the only thing that's Bitmoji there. Mine was all Bitmoji because I was kind of into it. And then you click here if you want to go to the Bitmoji library. And then you click here if you want to the directions on the curbside checkout again. Okay, I have the link here, so we'll have to knock on wood this works, but.
And Jackie just dropped in the chat that the March Madness with the books is such a great idea and connects them to what's happening in culture too. And would love to try that with the ELLs along with introducing other cultural things like this. So
it is great. And it was not a lot of work up front. We had to buy the books, but now our principal bought the books. We're a Title I school, so we have some Title I money. We're a Title I school with high scores this year. And I think a lot of it is because of how much we push the reading. I wanted to tell you that one of those books, or I think a couple of them, the one I read in the library for March Madness was Pacho Nacho, which has a lot of Spanish in it. And my daughter's minor was in Spanish, and I just know a little bit from where I did Spanish. And the ELL kids were so impressed that I knew, and they could help me with some of my pronunciation of some of those words. And it just made them feel like a big part of it. So, okay, so here's the Southside Virtual Library. Here's the lesson for those kids that were virtual all the time. They click on the book for the lesson. This Dr. Seuss song's down here. There's the curbside checkout rules. But you can click on me and learn a little bit about me. Since I was new to school this year, this is my family, my dogs and things. And then there's always I've got all your all's pictures and stuff up. I can't see. Oh, there's always an exit back to the main page. You click on this door to go in the library, and then here is most things you would find in a library. Here's a makerspace station. Here's some, this is my favorite one, the geography one, because I started playing this game on the globe, and I can name the flag in every European country and the capital because I played that game so much. So then I had the kids challenge me, but here's the United States. And there's just different things to do. And this exits you back to all the doors. They like the makerspace. Here's hands-on things. There's coding. I didn't build that. I copied it from somebody. I took her little picture out and put mine on there. I did add this because they love this Incredibox thing. And you just click around and do things. Here's some authors and some books, and like beach books. Like I said, I didn't create that. Somebody else created that. And you just copy it off of their, it's on Facebook. And they give you the link and you get the permission and then you use it. And honestly, here's who created that one right there. Like I said, I did not know how to do any of that. And if you don't know how to do anything, just type it in Google and they'll ask you, or you can ask in that group and they will tell you how to do anything. So that's how I do the virtual library. And it's nice that the people at home could still come to the Southside Library. And then every now and then I'd have my in-person students wanted to go to the library. And I just let them click around and do different things. You'll have some of them are reading a book because there's some read aloud books on there. And then you'll have some of them that are in the makerspace, of course. So I hope that's not too much information. But I wanted to tell you all that I do feel like I do a lot, but it all runs itself. So what I try to tell you is just pick one thing you want to add to your program and add that next year. And that'll get to be old hat and you'll know how to do that without even thinking about it. And then add another thing in. And it's just, I've kept adding things. I just want to have, reading is always in the forefront of their mind. And it's just not, I rarely check out books. My assistant does that, but you don't, I have a friend who says, she said, I always want to be doing things so that I'm never, I don't know if I meant to do that. I don't want everybody to say, we don't really need her. We could have anybody check out books, but I need to really push the reading. And that's just where my heart, my passion is. So I hope that didn't overwhelm you, but you just kind of add things. And, you know, the pumpkin contest was going on. That was the only thing going on. And then the next thing was going on and then the next thing. So it's just fun for me in my life.
Johnny Sue, I'm disappointed. We did have originally planned for the principal of her school to come on and talk about the school media program and the relationship to the school. But I do think it's worth repeating here that this is a Title II school with high scores. And it just backs up that research that I did on the front end of this presentation. And Johnny Sue, will you just go to the next slide? We won't share back. So when I want you to reflect, if you're an administrator or if you're a librarian or if you're a teacher, and then we don't want to call out names or anything here, but are you fully utilizing the school media program? Or have you kind of forced your person to be the keeper of the books? Do you know, as an administrator, do you know what the budget is, and is it enough? Are you giving that program the support that it is? Remember, the front of our presentation was the biggest classroom in the school is the library. It may be the cafeteria, but I'm going to say the library. And I think right now we've got about 3 minutes that we can allow people just to unmute and chat. So I invite people for about 3 minutes, because we do have to do an evaluation. And so please unmute, make a comment, ask a question.
Well, we have 2 comments in the chat. One from Jackie that says, I'll definitely have to get that book that you mentioned. Thank you for sharing. And Christy DeBus said, I would love a training on how to do that Bitmoji virtual classroom, Nice Wonger.
Yeah, I could lead how to do that. That's what I kind of talked to our other related arts teachers and showed them how to do the Bitmoji and to do the classroom. And some of them chose just to do the video of themselves, but a lot of them ended up doing the Bitmoji. Our gym teacher made a really cool one. So it works in any area and the kids love it.
I think too, now you've got, we've all kind of adopted new literacy materials that may have new units or new unit topics. So I think it's a great time for teachers to think about including their librarian in their planning time to share the texts and topics that they're starting to dig into in their unit work.
Yeah, I will add this that I think Catherine touched on a little bit. This is my 10th principal I've worked with. She is all about the library and it makes it easy. But I have worked with some that just didn't really see how valuable the library could be. But you can still make a difference even if you have that relationship. But I'll just encourage, talking to your principal about saying, maybe reading that article, some other things, or just what's one thing you want to try to add or try to do, and would you support that? And just kind of talking with them, get that dialogue going, say, I want to be more valuable, and to the overall school. But at the middle school, I had to go to the related arts meetings because I was technically a related arts teacher as well. But I would also go to the language arts meetings and see ways that I could help. They all met after school, so I could go to all those. At this school, they all meet, of course, when I have their kids for planning, so I can't go to those. But through the literacy meeting, I have a way to be able to talk to each, or the school improvement team, you have a way to talk to each grade level because each grade level is represented there. But sometimes I went to the social studies because sometimes the social studies lesson is great to do in the library. It's easier than some other things. I did longitude, latitude bingo that I found somewhere online, and all kids had a map, and at first they were like, oh, this is so hard, I can't do it. And then they were so into it. So, and a social studies teacher recommended that. So, just getting out there and seeing what they can do. And, all they can say is no or no, thank you. But you get some really good ideas that way.
Well, Whitney just dropped in the chat that I want to give my students time in class to read their library books.
That is one of the most valuable things. When I taught high school, sustained silent reading, SSR, was the best thing I did. But it only worked if I was reading too. And I like the library days where I give them 15 or 20 minutes to actually just to read. And of course, my principal was like one time, well, couldn't you because we're doing 30-minute lessons in the library now, because we're dividing with PE. And I like it, but I also don't like it. I'd like to have the whole hour. But I just feel like they need that time to read. She said, well, you could get more lessons in if they read their books at home. I said, I know, but I just think that time to read is important. And of course, she agrees with me. It's just hard to do everything,
Hey, I'll add to that. I think that time in the classroom can be used effectively or ineffectively. And where I've seen it used most effectively is where, there is a little bit of time for kids to read, but during that time, either the teacher's modeling, or I've also seen teachers use that time to do check-ins around that book that students are reading and just checking in on specific, it could even be, maybe you're trying to correlate the types of reading skills that you're specifically focused on in the lesson that week. And so you're asking kids to apply and use those same, skills with their own text that they're reading. So, I mean, I think those could be really neat ways to make the most of that time where kids are getting some choice in what they're reading and having some time in that classroom to do that.
Yeah, they just, once again, just modeling the value of reading.
Dr. Hall, you also had a couple of questions. Whitney asked, are you a proponent for reading logs? Is the first one.
I am. I think it's important to write about what you're reading too, but we're doing a reading log in the summer school where it's just a bookshelf and they color in a book for each one they read. But I would like to do, and I've thought about it, but in 30 minutes, I just not have time for it. You can take a composition book to Lowe's and they'll cut it in half. So it's like a little mini book. And I would like for them to read and write what they're doing. When at high school, I would tell you in high school, I always asked for the low group. A lot of people want the advanced group. So I just like the low group. I don't know why. But I had them read for the 20 minutes and then they had to write a little reflection on there. And I told them kind of something in the book that touched their life. Like when he walked in the library, it reminded me of when I go to the library, or something in the book that reminded me. And at first it is like pulling teeth, but then they were totally into it. And I was like, okay, time's up. And they're like, no, one more page, or, and these are the kids who didn't really like to read. So I think the log was very helpful, especially for those kids who they struggle a little bit with the comprehension part. I think that's important.
And go ahead, Catherine.
Bethany, and I think we're probably referring to the same research there is some research about reading logs, and there's a lot of different ways. There's Flipgrid, there is writing. It could be a quick write. I saw some effective reading logs done when the teacher specifically asked for maybe some kind of character analysis or even if the books are different, she would hone in. Maybe she's trying to teach some kind of character analysis. But there is research out there on character logs, and Bethany's put a link there.
And Audra asked
reading logs, yeah.
Audra asked a question too. She said, did you use your school website or Canvas for students to access your library? If it's on the school website, can we look at your site?
Right now, my Bitmoji is my site. I had a really good one at that I can give you access to at, let me stop sharing, at the middle school that I don't mind if you copy or not. It was built for COVID. But I would tell you, I have it on the website, but I also have it in Canvas because they give me a class in Canvas. So I have it there too. There's many places you can put it, but our school system does this single sign-on. So when they sign on, there's all these, it's like your phone, all these app buttons show up. And one of them is the library. We talked about unifying all of our school websites. So they're kind of the same, especially for those parents who have a kid in the elementary, then a kid in the middle. So across the top, they are always, home, about, faculty, curriculum or whatever, but I really talked to them about you need a library link there because everybody needs access to the library at all times. So even though I have it in other places, it's there as well. I think as many places you can have the kids to have access to it. Let me see if I can.
While you're doing that, Dr. Holly, I'm going to drop the evaluation in the chat box. So if people, know what that is.
Oh, John's the man. He already dropped it for you, Sarah.
You just did that.
And listen, folks, please, if you've liked this session, please do this evaluation because all the rural life people here can tell you that we look at these evaluations and we think in terms of next sessions and topics that are of interest to the teachers that we service. And I can see I made some notes here, potential new presentations just from what I've heard off today, anywhere from collection development to just topics like that. So please give us your input. We want it. We need it.
Catherine, do you have, I suppose you have everybody's email, right?
Yeah.
That's in this? Because I'm not finding this quickly, but I buried it because I'm not using that website anymore. But I could email this middle school website out to everyone.
John, we'll have a participant's email, don't we? Yeah, we can do that. Thank you, Johnny Sue.
Okay.
Well, thank you all for attending the virtual Summer Institute session, and a recording of the session will be posted to the website soon. So if you haven't, just go ahead and take that survey that Catherine was talking about, the links in the chat. And we appreciate you being here on this Friday afternoon, this rainy Friday afternoon. And Dr. Holly, thank you for sharing so much of the awesome work that you're doing at Southside Elementary School. Southside has a special place in my heart because I did my student teaching there.
Oh yeah, it's a great school. Hey, I wanted to give everyone my email. I don't know why I didn't type it on there, but as Catherine knows, I can talk library all day. I love to do that. But my email address is Hawley. It's HAWLEY @jcschools, that's plural.org. And I love to answer library questions, or I'll talk to anybody about library anytime.
I just dropped your email address in the chat if people want to copy it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, thank you all and have a great weekend.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Johnny Sue.